Greetings, everyone. It is I, Sweater King, and today we'll be discussing one of the oldest horror franchises known in the world. The undisputed king of horror of the mid-2010s, and one that has probably shaped your guys' childhoods. Yes, folks, we'll be discussing about Five Nights at Freddy's. Now, this topic has been itching at me for a while now, solely for the fact that, as stories go, FNAF is probably the most convoluted and confusing stories. And, I know about convoluted stories. Just, look at COD Zombies' story. For those interested, COD Zombies' story is a crazy, wacky adventure with a wide variety of crew, but FNAF is a special case because the lore of FNAF was something special at the time when the first 3 games was released. Well, Call of Duty Zombies, for better or worse, had some interesting additions from the Black Ops 2 to 3 era. It was at least nicely wrapped up in the Ether storyline where, everything was destroyed. But all that weird, wacky alien lore fit perfectly, and it fit naturally for Call of Duty Zombies' lore at the time. FNAF didn't start off or end in that regard. No. FNAF, when it first started, was simple. The main guy, who was a guy, worked 5 nights at Freddy's.
He said it!
Who works a 6th special night after completing the 5th night. And after you complete the 6th night, you unlock Custom Night, the difficulty where you can tweak it to having nothing at all, or if you wanted a challenge, bump that shit up back to 20. But throughout the first 5 phone calls of the first game, you had this guy who would call you and give you information, introduce you to the Fazbear's Enterprise. And this is where we get the iconic mystery of the franchise, the Bite of 87.
Was that the Bite of 87?
And that gave the game, the first game at least, really impactful lore. Obviously, you had the little children missing incident poster secretly hidden on the map, and then the hallucinations, but it was impactful. And I think the reason why the story caught on was because of how grounded the story felt. Yeah, sure, you had some supernatural elements such as Golden Freddy and the kids who possessed the animatronics, but there was a sense of believability to it. And that's where the charm of the first 4 games came in. Now, going to the 4th and 5th game of the franchise, it shows more about the Afton family, who was introduced in a book and was later discovered by the game theory on that we were going to be discovering the Aftons in the 5th game. And obviously, with that knowledge, people then theorized that FNAF 4 is also the Afton family, with hindsight, of course. And the sense of that you're playing through children's nightmares, and you're playing as the Bite of 83 victim. And, again, this implemented a sense of believability. It didn't feel quirky or silly like the modern lore of FNAF. Now, the 6th game was the game what I believe wanted to be an end to his franchise. But we all know the silly troll Scott Cawthon, how he is, but I feel the franchise should have ended at Ultimate Custom Night. See, you have the first 5 games, all establishing base lore. And then you have the 6th game, Pizzeria Simulator, being a bonus 6th night in giving you some extra tidbits of lore and dripping you more information, getting you hooked in. And then the finale of Ultimate Custom Night, which is Afton's personal help. And that's how I feel the franchise should have ended at. And it would have ended, honestly, and that would have left the franchise on a bittersweet moment. But now, modern FNAF lore is just unrecognizable and isn't what it used to be. That could just be me with rose-tinted glasses, but I don't think the introduction of the Mimic and Afton's obsession with essence and his, killing spree, the unaliving spree, it just, the modern lore just feels so goofy. Now, I'm not saying the gameplays of the newer games are bad. I honestly think the newer games are genuinely pretty scary at times. But the lore of the newer games, Steel Wool era, it's it just doesn't feel right. It, to me, it's kind of an insult of the grounded nature of what FNAF used to have, what FNAF once had, that believability sense of that this could happen to anybody, any time period that there's animatronics. It adds that much more oomph to the story and what got everybody hooked up to it now, and what made Five Nights at Freddy's the absolute icon of everyone today. Anyone of any generation knows what Five Nights at Freddy's is because of this grounded sensation of the possibility of it, and that's where this horror of Five Nights at Freddy's came from. The grounded nature of 5 missing kids and then possessing animatronics was such a fascinating concept and felt grounded to some degree. Everyone was either a spirit trying to rest and find the man who had done this to them, or everyone was a human. None of this robot wearing skin suit stuff. No silly mimicking those we loved and cared for, just a sad story about parents separated from their kids and have no idea where they could have gone. The kids lost and confused and bound together under one puppet master who leads the prosecution of the purple guy, also known as William Afton. In my opinion, the FNAF franchise is a franchise that could have had a bittersweet ending, and everyone would have looked back. But, to me, FNAF isn't that anymore. Its franchise is worth so much that the story and lore from this beloved franchise suffers from always coming back. Here's my final thoughts for today. The movies and the books are going to be separate from the game. Alright? We're solely talking about the game. How many is there? 10 now? Jesus Christ, there's a lot. And to me, the movies understand where the source material comes from, of where FNAF was, beloved, especially looking at the first movie. That was such a surreal experience. And the second one is looking really good, especially with the way that the toy animatronics look. I don't think FNAF in modern time, gameplay-wise, is bad. All the VR games and the Steel Wool era is really, really great. But the story suffers from being dragged on for way too long. And the story of FNAF should have ended at Ultimate Custom Night. But that's going to wrap it up for today's video. If you like what you see, consider subscribing. Make sure to follow me on Twitch so that you know when I go live next. If you want to join the Discord, it's down in the description. You could be a part of the amazing Sweater Kingdom. Or if you would like to enter yourself in the sweater contest, you can do so and earn yourself a weeks-long shout-out from me. But that's going to wrap it up for today. Peace, Kingdom.